Oh, hey y'all. So, as you might have noticed, we were gone for a couple weeks. So, when we came back, we talked way too fucking long. So, that being said, we decided this week we were gonna release a little special episode for you guys called Indistinct Chatter Encore. So this is episode 6, Encore. Hope you guys enjoy.
They're not gonna.
No.
Why would you show us this? What part of that was funny? Answer me, Griffin. What part of that was supposed to be funny?
Griffin, why'd you show that to us, man?
What?
Y'all want to hear one of the most stressful things ever that almost happened to me the other day?
Sure, man. You got your dick
Was
stuck
your
in
camera dying? Like, is your
No,
camera
it just won't reconnect to the Zoom call for whatever reason. I got my first shot of the Pfizer vaccine on Friday, which was like, but I was in line because what they do is they make you wait there for 15 minutes after you get your shot in case you have an allergic reaction or anything. I'm sitting there at the back of this massive line of several hundreds, if not thousands of cars, and I'm almost out of gas.
Oh, no.
And I remember the night before my light coming on, but I was like, oh, it's fine because it still had like about a quarter of a tank. But for some reason this morning, it was below an eighth. It actually regularly got below the E. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at myself like, dude, I'm about to fucking I have no idea like what the recourse of that would be. Like they have people running around in like go-karts and all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming to transport.
Bring me
like,
a gallon of gas.
Bro, it was one of the scariest moments of my life because I'm like, I'm just gonna be the jackass who's holding up several people in this massive line and just stalling not only American economy or the Arizonan economy, but also like
the vaccination. Yeah. What's that one movie where they like the drug deal went wrong?
No Country for Old Men.
Sicario.
No Country for Old Men.
No Country from Old Men, Sicario.
No Country from Old Men. Fucking.
Two Guns. There's a scene in the desert.
Seven Psychopaths seen in the desert. Hell or High Water.
Seven Psychopaths.
I said,
y'all want to talk about the vibes of the week thing that Austin mentioned last week in the episode that we scrapped?
Oh, I'd love to. Let's talk about.
Let's talk about
vibes.
Let's say the vibes of the month since it's about to be April. So what were your vibes of March, y'all?
Already so much for me to think about the week. We got to do a month.
My vibe at the very least of like the last week, I'm listening to a lot of like jazz lately. Like specifically, it happens to be like all of the old hip hop samples. I'm listening to a lot of that kind of stuff. Today by Tom Scott is a goated song. That's what Pete Rock sampled for They Reminisce Over You.
Honestly, nothing beats hearing the songs that have been sampled.
I've been listening to this.
Fuck yeah.
Fire?
Miles Davis. Fire. I love Miles Davis. This is so good. Kind of Blue.
Yeah, Kind of Blue.
With Julian Cannonball Adderley, Paul Chambers, James Copp, John Coltrane, my boy. I did not go to a local record shop. I got it at Urban Outfitters.
They sell Miles Davis at Urban Outfitters?
They sell everything at fucking Urban Outfitters. You can get a fucking Britney Spears record there.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, but
I didn't know that white folk liked what Miles Davis like that.
White people love Miles Davis. Are you kidding me?
You guys ever watch La La Land? White People Save Jazz.
Yeah, man. What I said was, do you ever listen to Tom Misch? Anybody?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of him.
Dude, you would love
You know him by
Tom
his
Misch.
guitar. It's always the guitar. If I'm listening to a song and I don't have anything near, like the phone or anything near me, and I just start to hear like little guitar plucks, I'm like, this is a Tom Misch song, isn't it? And then he starts singing, he's just like,
He's a funky ass white boy from the UK.
Of course.
Like his music.
Anyone got any non-music related vibes?
F1 Drive to Survive. If you guys like Formula One, I mean, like it's like a mini docu-series about each season of Formula One, and it goes into like the politics, like the behind the scenes stuff of Formula One. It's super fucking good. The first season had me like drawn in, and then the second, I haven't watched the third season yet. It just came out.
I think the best way to like pitch it is the fact that like if you guys watch any sporting event, whether it's Formula One or like football, baseball, whatever, one thing that I know I've never been impressed about, maybe because I'm just a huge camera nerd, is the cinematography is always trash. They're always using like generic broadcast cameras that look like crap, and it's just like a very flat profile with like super long depth of field. The reason that the first season of Drive to Survive really drew me in is because they're using like cinema grade quality and insane slow motion all over the place, and it's color graded to be beautiful. Gorgeous. Oh my God. Yeah. So it's like, you're like, one thing I've heard from like actual F1 people is that watching that show, it's nothing new 9 times out of 10. Like if you keep up with F1 live, then it's like the stuff you'll already hear week to week. So it's like pretty surface level in terms of the depth if you're like an actual F1 fan, but just the visual presentation of it, it's absolutely insane. The production value is ridiculously beautiful.
Griff, have you seen The Last Dance?
I have, yes.
What did you, because that was one thing that got me about that was like how movie-esque that docu-series felt. Like I remember the first shot, it felt mad corny because like it was just like a shot of like MJ, I think, on like a balcony with like a cigar between his fingers and like a drink in his other hand, and it was just like, this feels dramatic, but at the same time I remember thinking, wow, this is fucking sick.
They presented like the current day docu stuff pretty well, but then like even the archival footage from when he was actually playing, oh my God, dude. Yeah, this is like, it's a different style of visual fidelity from The Last Dance to this show, but man, is it riveting. If you guys want to get into motorsports or just watch something cool in general, it's a badass
just show. Watch like pretty, the cars are pretty, you know, the sites are pretty, they go like Monaco and shit, and then you get to see like more about the drivers' lives and like what it takes to be a F1 driver. It's a lot more than what you would think.
If nothing else, I mean, think about like people who just look up highlights all the time for sports. At the end of every episode is just highlights where you'll just see all the crazy crashes and like the coolest moments of everything. Yeah. But again, at that cinema quality.
Vlad, you got any vibes?
What?
You got any vibes?
Well, I was gonna ask. So Griff mentioned the like cinematography of the F1 thing. I was gonna ask y'all what you guys think are your what movies come to mind that are like the most visually impressive? Like when you think of cinematography in all of film, like the first ones that come to mind for me, the first ones that come to mind are like Mad Max Fury Road, Blade Runner 2049, and The Revenant. Like strictly just speaking cinematography, I was wondering if you guys had any that like came to mind for that. Like not even something that like touches you, because I could see Tanner mentioning like Moonlight, or if Beale Street Could Talk, but like it's not necessarily like yeah, that's an emotional thing, but it's not necessarily anything like.
No, I will say Barry Jenkins' 2 most recent films, I don't know if I would have to check if he used the same cinematographer, but like whoever did Moonlight, whoever did Beale Street, they like, the craziest part about Beale Street is I have never in my life seen a low quality still. Like literally every fucking, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, every platform that I have, even IMDb, which has some pretty low quality like pictures most of the time, every fucking still I've seen from Beale Street has been crisp as fuck.
They're both by James Laxton.
Now that I know your name, sir, probably, one of my favorite cinematographers. I mean, those 2 movies are fucking great.
Kingsman, those movies have really good cinematography.
Different vibe, but a great cinematography.
So, like couldn't be any more different than those movies, but like they do such a good job with cinematic storytelling.
Wait, what movie did you say?
Kingsman 1 and 2.
Oh, fuck yeah.
For me,
I think it's called.
My favorite, and this is an original, like he's basically like everybody's favorite. I didn't know that he did all these films until after the fact. Roger Deakins.
I knew it. I literally was. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was gonna go. I was gonna mention Roger Deakins.
I mean, everything I loved by him. Like I loved all of his movies independently, all the movies he shot, and then learning that he did them all. Like, I mean, the big ones for me are he did No Country for Old Men, but he did Skyfall, he did Sicario, which is my number one. He did Blade Runner 2049 and 1917.
1917 did not impress me.
The cinematography impressed me.
Still.
You're wrong.
Dude, it's just like everyone, like people have done the one-shot thing before. Like that really didn't, because that was the biggest thing about the movie. It was like, oh, it was all like, that's the only thing I ever heard from it. So that's why when it got awards, aside from cinematography, what just happened?
I got kicked out of the Zoom call.
Oh, welcome back.
The whole one-shot thing's been done before, like Birdman. Yeah, that shit was impressive.
See, here's how I look at it: is like, I haven't seen Birdman. I haven't seen that many of those one-shot types. The thing is like with 1917, it serves a clear narrative purpose where it's like you need to get across the country to deliver this message, or everything's gonna fall apart. So like there's a very clear narrative structure for why it's a one shot, to make it like you're consciously thinking about every second that's spent on this journey. But at the end of the day, it's still a gimmick.
I think it's cool for scenes.
As fuck.
When scenes have one shot scenes, like, and you always hear people, for some reason, the first one that's coming to mind is in Atomic Blonde. There's like a scene, like a fight scene of her like fighting these like agents down this like stairwell.
Everybody does it because of Old Boy. Old Boy did it first.
It makes sense.
And then now, like, they do
I was
it
gonna
in
say,
action cinematography.
it's always done well in, like, there's the Atomic Blonde scene I mentioned, or it would have worked well in the Jason Bourne movies, but the cinematography in those is like bad.
The editing is fucking horrible.
But like, then you hear about like the Daredevil hallway scenes and like the Punisher hallway scene. And
the thing about a one shot is like, it's great. It's a great tool. I love a one shot, no matter what it's in. I love a fucking one shot. But what makes a one shot good is breaking it. Like what makes it impressive is to be like, wow, you got through. But if you do the whole movie, you know for a fact that that's like the only thing they were thinking of.
They did it for a gimmick.
Yeah, it probably wasn't like a good time because
they were thinking about hitting cuts. Like,
oh god,
yeah, no,
literally around it.
Imagine you fuck up one word, you could be 20 minutes into a scene. 20 minutes into a scene, because and
they're either gonna have to find a place to cut it, so that
they have to do the whole thing. On Birdman, they would do like 20-30 pages at a time. So if they got if they were doing a 30-page take, got to page 24 and someone fucked up their line, they had to restart.
And that's a stage play at that point.
Well, they memorized it as if it was a play. That's how they treated it.
Well, that's why The Revenant, because of the long takes and the intense filming, they had to expand their filming. And because of that, they had to move their entire locations because the snow that they were filming in had melted.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. The one shot at the beginning and at the end of a movie. So like at the very beginning, you get this long one shot that tracks wherever, and then it comes and you meet your character, or at the very end where it tracks your character and then it leaves them. Because then like like No Country for Old Men has that, where like he gets in a car accident.
Yeah.
And like he's like, give me your shirt, and he gives the kid $100 and he wraps his arm. Then he's like walking down the street, and then it like follows him, and then it just kind of goes past him, and then it ends. Like I think that's super cool. Like, oh, we are moving on now. The story has been told. Like you're going to continue. Yeah,
on both ends.
I think that's really cool.
Like in Hell or High Water is like the like tracking on the bank, and it goes to like the teller, and then you get Chris Pine and Ben Foster like robbing the bank, and then at the very end it follows Jeff Bridges' character to his truck, and then he leaves, and it's on like the field.
I had an edible before that movie, and I was fucking like the end of it. I was just like.
Oh, they're on the porch.
I'm like, this movie's so fucking good, dude. I was just like, wow, I can't believe I put it off for that long.
What were you gonna say?
What were you saying?
For my birthday, I went and saw a movie in a theater. That shit was fucking bonkers. But the movie that I saw was Boogie. Fuck, it was so good. It was so
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, no, okay, so it's Eddie Hang. I don't know how it Huang. I don't know how to pronounce his
Huang?
last
A
name.
30-year-old playing a high schooler.
Yes. Everyone in it looks way too fucking Pop Smoke is in it. As a high schooler, he has face
Rest in
tats.
peace, Pop
You know what's
Smoke.
crazy is he was 20 when he died, so he wasn't even really that much older than.
The weird, but like also like I get it thing was a majority of the movie. They played a lot of Pop Smoke in the movie.
Smoke.
Like
That's
they
a
put
lot.
a bunch. But what was nice was so in the theater, it just happened to work out that I was completely alone. And the second that the first Pop Smoke song started, I stood up and started doing the fucking like drill dance where you move your foot. But Boogie, it's really good. It's about an Asian guy in like Queens and like Brooklyn, like not the best parts of
About
New York.
him, right? Isn't it about him?
No.
Oh,
Fresh Off the Boat is about him. The show on, I think it's on ABC
Yeah.
with Randall Park.
I
That's
watched the
based
first
on his
season of that.
life. I think he's a restaurateur.
yeah.
Um,
Bows. He makes bows. This whole thing. I can't remember the name of it now.
but it was a really good movie.
Does it remind you of that one? What's that one movie with the fucking black kids and the
Slice?
ASAP Rocky's in it?
Dope.
Dope.
Oh, dope.
Dope, rated R, in theaters June 19.
Dope and Boogie sound similar.
Movie's goated.
Shout out Zack Snyder's
Yeah.
Justice League.
I feel like we should have an actual episode devoted.
That's part of
A full
my
episode on it.
vibes. We were leading up to it. It was like such a big thing, at least for Tanner and myself, that we should definitely talk more about it. But like,
I'm so glad that it was good, man.
my mood was
I
like
thought it was gonna be
coming
terrible.
out. So it was coming out that Thursday, and like that whole week, I was watching scenes of like Man of Steel and then BVS, and there's these YouTubers that I watch for some reactions, predominantly Star Wars stuff. I mentioned them before, I think. They're called Blind Wave. Shout out Eric from Blind Wave because he's like my favorite part of that show. But they do like reactions to stuff, and so they were doing a reaction to Man of Steel on Tuesday, and then they did a BVS Ultimate Edition reaction on like that Wednesday, and then they did like the Zack Snyder's Justice League on that Thursday. So I was watching those, and like I've mentioned it multiple times, and like y'all already know, like I'm a really, really big Batman fan. Do I love
Now
Batman?
talk.
Now talk. I'm a huge Batman fan, albeit like the universe is insane. We talk about it all the time. Like the whole universe of Batman and the concept is ridiculous, but like I love Batman. So watching Zack Snyder's Justice League got me on like a Batman kick again. And like I was watching scenes again from like the Arkham games that I absolutely love. Like I was watching clips from like Arkham Knight. There was some scenes from the Nolan films. I've just seen those so many times that I didn't need the nostalgic return. But I got in a big kick on HBO Max. So I've been watching like animated DC movies all week. That's literally all I've been doing. I haven't.
Have you watched the new Harley Quinn show?
No, because I'm going in order. So I literally went through HBO Max, no joke, and I looked up every animated like movie that involves Batman specifically, and then the Justice League.
Judas Contract is so good.
There's a few with Teen Titans, like that one, that I threw on there too. That I threw on my watch list.
What was the one before Judas Contract? Teen Titans versus the Justice League.
Yeah,
that
where,
shit.
Like, Trigon.
That
Dude,
shit goes.
Trigon in that. I was telling Tanner, John Bernthal voices Trigon in that. What? But yeah, so I've just been literally going in order, like from like Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which came out in 1993. And fun fact, I think is the only animated Batman movie to have a theatrical release. I might be wrong on that now, but for like 5 years ago, that was the case.
I think Killing Joke broke it.
I think you're right. Yeah. But yeah, I started with like Mask of Phantasm, and like I'm just going in order, and that's been so much fun. Like, yeah, I'm a super big nerd, and I'm putting some like all my free time into just watching Batman movies. But man, like just watching the way that the characters like changed over the years. And I was talking to Tanner about Kevin Conroy, who for a lot of people is Batman. The way his Batman voice has evolved, like that's been my kick all week. I've been listening to this song that's in the second Zack Snyder Justice League trailer, called, I think it's pronounced Celon, maybe it's Kelon, I think it's Celon. The song is Celon.
Was that the Celtic song you sent to me the other day?
It's by Lisa Gerrard, who she's an insanely incredible vocalist. She did a lot of music on or a lot of the songs on Gladiator, like the movie Gladiator. She like does like the theme. It's like called Now We Are Free, but it's off her album called The Mirror Pool. And I literally, no joke, spent a whole day listening to only that. Like I listened to that on my way to work. I listened to it on my lunch break. I listened to it after work. It was the only song I listened to all day. And by the end of the day, I was like, what have I done? I'm going insane. I don't want to hear the song ever again. But those have been my vibes.
I listened to Hosier sing The Humors of Whiskey like 10 times in a row.
Dude, shout out Hosier. Talk off of Wasteland Baby came on yesterday, and it got me in like such a calm mood. I was like, thank you, you beautiful man. Tanner, did you have any other specific vibes that you've been on?
I've been on, I mean, I'm sure y'all have known, I've been on a portrait kick lately. That's a different thing. I don't usually, I'm not like a photographer, and it was truly Griff coming out and him and I going out and shooting stuff that I was like, oh, I want to do this more often. And so I just started texting. It's so much fun. So I just started texting my friends and was literally like, hey, do you want to go out and shoot today? Thing is, which I was gonna say to you, I was like, oh, like I wasn't gonna press you, but at the same time it was kind of just more like, oh, can I just like practice shooting people, especially dudes, because so far I've only shot girls, and I know that shooting dudes is just like,
I hate having my photo taken, man.
It comes out completely different.
That's why I was like, oh no, I'm good, because like I got photos from when we hung out, and then I genuinely like, in those moments when they're being taken of me, especially if I'm hyper aware, because I'm the type that it's like, man, I wish I had more photos of me and none of my friends take pictures of me. But then if people like, if my friends do start taking pictures of me, I'm literally like, stop, what are you doing?
I'm just super self-conscious.
It depends on the situation though. Like when the four of us hung out and y'all were taking photos, I felt super comfortable. But if it's a like we're walking and you are taking photos of me, couldn't be me.
I mean, that's the thing is I think a big part of that is just like getting used to it. Like obviously, if you're not modeling or you're not constantly taking pictures, it's like, it's not something you think about where you're like, Austin, when we edit this, it's gonna look like fucking a Ray J video because the shit's gonna be different every goddamn time.
That's what it say in the song.
Like, I don't like staging stuff. That's my thing. I don't like
candid photos are always better.
I love candids of me, and whenever candids happen to be taken of me, I love it. But if I'm standing and hitting a pose or like smiling or something, I hate that stuff. I've never seen me pose for something and it look good.
My problem is I am bad at posing, and then the other thing is me being the photo guy here. I'm too particular about every photo as well.
We're also like, ugly.
That part. Where like I'm sitting there, I'm like, it'll be a good photo for like the average person, but because I'm sitting here like thinking about all of the principles of photography I've been taught and that I have already on my Instagram from my photos, I'm like, it's fine, but I will never post it.
I agree. I was telling Tanner that I have rules to when I take photos because I'm not a photographer. But I love taking photos and I prefer being the one taking them than for them to be taken of me. But I have rules to when I take photos. And so when they're taken of me and they like, you have to break your rule. Like when they like break those rules, it aesthetically like doesn't look good to me. Like I look at those photos of me and I'm like, this isn't a good photo because it's not like what I would take.
That's I don't know, that's insane to me because it's just like, I don't know, because I guess the difference is like I as a professional, and I think Griff, we talked about this when you were out here, is that like the difference between you and I, especially like when it comes to photography, is like I'm like an artist as opposed to you, where you do photography more for journalism while you do capture.
Photojournalist.
Yeah. But like for me, like I know that art more or less is subjective and that everyone's art is going to be different. So like, for example, like like I know that the way that Griff, you take pictures of me is going to be very different than the way I take pictures of you. And so it's just like, cool. Like that's kind of what it is. Like I know I make films, and I know that if like I wrote something that someone else directed, or if I was in something that someone else wrote and directed, I'm definitely going to be like, yo, this is not what I would have done, but I still would like probably share it and be like, hey,
well, no, for that, I get that. For me, just when I take photos, I guess, because you had mentioned, Tanner, that when you take photos, you're trying to you act sometimes as though you're setting up a scene, like in a movie. Not always, but let's just say for the most part. Griff obviously has his own way of taking photos, and it's in a very specific, like, it doesn't have to be perfect and cropped well. And like you were in the sand dunes. This was like a month and a little bit ago. And there's these pictures that you had of like dirt bikes. And one of the photos, like half the dirt bike is cut off, and it looks really, really good. And it doesn't have to be in frame. That is just interesting to me because that's a photo I would never take because it's not in the frame. And that's why I like looking at your photos or looking at Tanner's, because they're different from mine. They're just not photos that I would take, because I very much so like will try to create, I guess, like a wallpaper when I do it. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is what it would look like if it was, let's say, drawn or something, or like if you got it off of like Google, not quality wise, but like it wouldn't look necessarily cut off or anything because it's like professionally enhanced and like procedurally generated in a certain way. But that's also not like natural. And then Austin takes photos too. He's just gonna get a little more into it now. But Austin's
I'm just very casual. The photos between the two pose photos are always the best. Like when they're transitioning from one pose to another, or like
that's when they're honest.
Right before they get into their pose and they're like 90% there. That's like, ooh, that's so good.
I love, with all three of them, I've had moments and like pictures where it's their face is fully in focus, but their like arm is out of focus because they're switching poses. And I love that shit because it's just like cool.
I would never post that. Like I like seeing them, but if something's blurry, that's not like I'm it's in the trash. You know what I mean?
That's fair. How are we feeling, y'all? Should we wrap it up?
I'm very curious as to how this episode is gonna be edited.
Hey, my bone boy, I have nothing but bones. All right, can we get a little bit loud?
But
I don't want to be yelling.
Holy shit! Do we want to redo the outro?
No,
it was just my legs.
We can take another one, but I feel like that was fun.
All right, cool. Stopping the recording in 3, 2, 1.